Twilight comes up with the potential solution of simply altering the bats' minds to make them not want to eat the apples. And to those of you who like to squawk about her subjugating free will, this was the closest thing to a light side decision you're ever going to get.
You want to buy some death sticks?
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Ooh, squawking. Them's fighting words. So, how do you want to respond to this? How about a nice smear campaign on Twitter? Forget that. Ask your viewers to draw insulting artwork. That'll teach others to have an opinion.
Oh, come on. I don't even get a shoulder angel?
Nope. That's your revenge scheme? Artist's hour? Oh, like yours is any better. Look out, everyone. Another tantrum on Twitter. Hide the children. Oh no, finger painting. It's the end of days.
I don't like either of those ideas.
Shush it! You want a piece of me, buddy? Bring it on, Lord of Pigeons. Oh, my hip.
This is why I make bad decisions. Jerry may not have realized what she'd done when she made that comment, for she has made me think. The immediate question here is whether or not Twilight was overstepping her bounds by changing the nature of vampire fruit bats to not eat apples. A question over which I literally argued with myself during my Bats review. But to explain my view on this question, I have to ask an even larger question. Who's in charge here? At first glance, it seems like the ponies are the big bosses, with Celestia at the top. They make the weather, they tend to smaller and larger animals, and in the case of powerful unicorns, they can literally reshape the world to suit their needs. This isn't the first series to present such an idea.
The skilled wizard can rearrange matter in any conceivable shape he likes. Yeah, the skilled wizard also never goes hungry.
But many stories also bring up another concept, that even the most powerful being is subject to an even greater force.
When the first step has been taken, the journey must be finished. To whatever end. Do as your conscience dictates.
So let's bring this back to ponies. If they're the bosses of nature itself, why do they have issues like this?
I simply cannot imagine why the Pegasus ponies would schedule a dreadful downpour this evening and ruin what could have been a glorious sunny day.
I know they need lots of mud for the rodeo tomorrow, but I wish they would have warned us about this rainstorm.
And who could forget Rainbow's futile struggle to stop winter's advance? Why make rain that can spoil an afternoon? Why create a winter that can separate friends and delay crops? Why not just use magic to solve any issue that might arise? To answer that question, I'd like to quote from A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin, a book I highly recommend. To change this rock into a jewel, you must change its true name. And to do that, my son, even to so small a scrap of the world, is to change the world. It can be done. Indeed, it can be done. It is the art of the master changer, and you will learn it when you are ready to learn it. But you must not change one thing, one pebble, one grain of sand, until you know what good and evil will follow on that act. The world is in balance, in equilibrium. A wizard's power of changing and of summoning can shake the balance of the world. It is dangerous, that power. It is most perilous. It must follow knowledge and serve need. To light a candle is to cast a shadow. And with that quote in mind, let's think back on all the times Twilight spells have gone awry. Changing Parasprite diets, making Smarty Pants more appealing, and altering the diet of vampire fruit bats. Each time, these attempts only worsen the situation. These aren't light side, dark side decisions. Twilight might claim she was doing this for the greater good. The greater good. Really, she was acting in the moment without considering what this change could mean. And I'm sorry to say that Twilight hasn't really internalized this lesson yet, so I expect her to make the same mistakes again. But let's look at those moments where Twilight's magic has triumphed. With the Ursa Minor, she had done her homework and understood that this was an angry infant. So rather than force, she applied calming tactics to gently return it home. She cautioned Rarity several times about the delicate nature of her wings, though in this case Rarity didn't respect that warning. Twilight did alter the main six to aid the Breezies, but for the purpose of getting them home using the usual means. She was working with the natural flow rather than trying to dictate terms. And the spell was only temporary rather than trying to change their true selves. So what can we take from this collection of events? Including Luna's fall from grace by refusing to lower the moon, or Rainbow's attempts to block winter. that ponies aren't as much the bosses of this world as they might appear. That while they're the stewards of the weather and the land, they're still subject to nature's laws. Even the most powerful of ponies acts to fulfill a need rather than their own plan. And while the villains are very overt in their need to assert their will over the world, that's a temptation even our heroines struggle with. And this is a theme across many forms of fantasy and sci-fi.
If you wish to change the weather of the world, you should find yourself another wizard.
To sum it up, with great power comes yada yada. But how does this apply to real life? Well, how many times have we taken what seemed like a quick and easy fix only to have things get worse? How many times might we say, if only I'd thought ahead? All these scenarios and lessons in caution. Across different mediums and stories, there is one message: to learn and to see the situation beyond immediate need or desire. But we're not done yet. After all, there are 2 points to Jerry's mention. The first being that Twilight has the right to change the vampire fruit bats, and the other was that Twilight's action is the exact same as that scene from Attack of the Clones. And again, I disagree. Let's take a look at that scene.
You don't want to sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Note Obi-Wan's word choice.
You want to go home and rethink your life.
You want to go home and rethink your life. You want to go home and rethink your life.
Rethink your life. Not stop being a drug dealer. Go home and rethink your life. Knowing how the expanded universe works, I expect to see a story around that choice. Get on it, Timothy Zahn. The key word here is choice. Obi-Wan pushed that guy towards a decision, but he didn't make the decision. You don't want to sell me death sticks? I don't want to sell you death sticks. You want to become an internet reviewer? No thanks, I'd rather get a real job. Guess is, I'm never going to start channeljedi.com. And I actually admire that bit of writing. Certainly a lot better than what followed. Can you help save my wife? Maybe. Could you kill some kids for me? Could I? But here's the rub. While I think MLP has done a good job of displaying the theme that no one can dictate terms to the world, the freedom to choose is less represented. It seems so clean-cut at first.
I saw the elements of harmony change her back to good.
Nightmare Moon, without question, was a threat because she tried to force eternal night and all the damage that would come with it.
Every plant and tree will die. Owls will deafen us with incessant hooting. The town's sundial will be useless.
The horror! The horror!
And I know fans have dozens of ideas on how the elements affected this change, but here's the thing. As far as the show seems to go, it's just zap her good. And it wouldn't be a big deal if not for what followed. Equestria seems to have very different views on privacy. You have one princess who can monitor your dreams, another that can influence your emotions. And if you follow the comics, then there's a spell that can allow you entrance into another's mind. Plus, there's that pesky reform spell. I've railed against the idea of a reform spell already, though I don't know what it really means. If it were like Obi-Wan's mind trick and opened the door for reformation, that would be a lot better than just forcibly reforming someone. Because if you do that, how is it any different from Starlight Glimmer?
This is a perfectly normal part of the equalization process.
But you may ask Silver, you ideological ideopser, what's your beef with Cadence's love spell? I've heard many fans speculate that Cadence isn't forcing love, but rather bringing it to the surface or reinforcing the feeling.
Just did that thing.
Tempted though I am, I will not ask what that thing was. Here's my real issue, folks. There is no choice in this matter. Cadence didn't approve of two ponies having an argument, and without asking permission decided to change them. The method isn't my concern. She made the change, then strut off. Like a boss. And one could argue it's for the greater good.
Shut it!
But that argument rings hollow. I'm old-fashioned. I want to have the freedom to feel bad, because at least I know that feeling is my own and I can deal with it. And when it comes to personal interaction, going for the hasty resolution doesn't remove the underlying issue. If anything, that's the same short-sightedness that I was talking about with nature. But we're supposed to view it as justified or awesome because a heroine is performing the act. Talking about all this, I suddenly realize how much I appreciate all of Pinkie Pie's efforts. While she has a history of pushing too hard for the happy resolution, I don't think she'd want a spell that could just make ponies happy. Pinkie strives for a change from within, and seasons 4 and 5 have shown the level of effort she puts into each attempt. And while she still needs to learn to accept that some will choose not to be happy, she's at least going about it in the right way. I hope you'll get the chance to tackle this issue someday, Twilight, that you can learn when it's right to not cast a spell. What the? Twilight, I am very cross indeed. This definitely falls into the abuse of power category. You could have at least turned me into a potato. Those have eyes. When I eventually find Princess Celestia, I am going to have very strong words for you. I'm Orange Quill. Thanks for watching. Oh no, I'm bruised.